And then I told him I wasn't on his lawn. Remember the days of yore? A simpler time when we would ride our bikes, play hockey in the street, and eat bread. Phones had cords, and it was the golden age of video games. Today we're going back to re-experience some of those foundational video games that launched the industry. Thanks to the hard work by the folks over at RetroPie, it's super easy to turn an ordinary Raspberry Pi into a fantastic arcade emulator and see what all the fuss was about. Grab your quarters, it's time to hit the arcade. We're going to use RetroPie for a distribution. We've already downloaded it from the RetroPie website and we've burned it to the SD card. So now we're going to start the installation. Raspberries, hey? Is there anything they can't do? So we picked up some arcade controllers and buttons, 3D printed up a case for it, and now we've got our very own arcade controller. This will make it feel all nice and authentic like. We'll see how that works. So the RetroPie distribution does all of the automatic setting up the partitions for you and gets you going. So you just watch the little messages go through the screen for a little while, and then it finishes setting up and asks you for some details about your system. So we wait. Okay, D-pad up. So we go up, D-pad down, we go down. Uh-oh. It's not detecting down. Oh no! We're gonna have to do this again. Configure input. Are you sure you want to configure? Yes. Good. D-pad down. Aha! Got it. Left, right, that's gonna be start, that's gonna be select. Okay, button A, and then B, and then X, and then Y. Okay. Now, let's go connect to our Wi-Fi. You want to launch Raspberry config now? Yes. Okay. I forget where our Wi-Fi setup is. Connect to what? Yeah, there it is. We're connected! Okay. We're going to be emulating the totally old vintage Pac Man, Donkey Kong, all that retro original OG arcade goodness, which means we're going to use the emulator MAME. Now, for some of you who have used emulators before, you'll know if you're emulating Nintendo or Super Nintendo, what have you, you can use whatever emulator you want, and then you grab your game ROMs and they work together. One important distinction when using MAME emulation is the MAME version, emulator version that you're using is specifically coded for the ROM version that you're using. So you got to get a match set. We want to go and we want to update the MAME emulator that we're using. By default, it uses an older one. We're going to install a package that will let us run the 2010 MAME ROM set, which I forget which version of MAME that is, but we'll get to that. Okay, so we're going to do RetroPie setup. There we go. Manage optional packages. What we're looking for is, there it is, LR MAME 2010. Okay, so install from pre-compiled binary. Pre-compiled binaries usually give us the least amount of headache. There we go. Okay, so now we should be able to run ROM sets from that MAME emulator. One of the other things we have to do is we have to set up audio. So the Raspberry Pi has audio that can go out either over the HDMI or over your headphones. So we're going to do headphones, and then we're going to hook up, because this monitor has an audio in. Now we haven't been able to see where the speakers on the monitor are. We think they're somewhere in there. Now if you can see, we only have RetroPie here. We don't have, nothing else shows up. That's because RetroPie will do a great job of only showing you the emulators on here that have ROMs installed in them. RetroPie will automatically set up an SMB share on the Raspberry Pi for you just to drag and drop ROMs directly into the emulator folders that they pertain to. So loading games, snap. You don't have to SSH in, you don't have to SFTP in, you don't have to FTP in. By default, you can navigate on a Mac as a guest to the IP address of the RetroPie, and then you can see there's a ROMs folder, and then we are going to throw all of our ROMs into the arcade folder. We're going to start loading up all of the vintage stuff, so we're going to start with something like Pac Man. After you dump some ROMs, all you got to do is, well, the fastest way to go see them is just restart Emulation Station. Emulation Station jumps back up. Now we've got arcade. It sees one game available. Let's see it's Pac Man. We're doing the MAME 2010 set. So we choose that as our default emulator for our ROMs. We're going to launch that ROM into the MAME 2010. It finds our controller, it runs the default, and we've got Pac Man as it was meant to be. The fun thing about arcades is I can put coins in all day long. Okay, and we put in some. Uh-oh. We're in business. Okay, let's start. What else we got? Galaga. We need Galaga. Restart emulation station. And Galaga. Uh-oh. Okay, I do have my productivity is about to plummet in the office. What's next? 1942. Donkey Kong. Moon Patrol. Yeah, oh yeah, Frogger. Okay, let's start with those. And we've got 11 games. Check it out. Okay, so the next thing we can do that makes this just a little bit cooler is if we now scrape. So it's going to contact the interwebs and it's going to look for game art, cover art for these to make the interface just a little bit nicer. Moon Patrol, baby. Ah, okay, that's my jump, that's my shoot. Oh, no, I'm not supposed to, I got too excited. Put in coins. I totally did not get hit. Okay, so we're up and running, and we've got an easy way to load games onto our RetroPie arcade here. The controller is all configured. You've got quarters galore with a single button. Yet another useless use for a Raspberry Pi that's going to bring you endless hours of fun. Bring a setup like this to your office and reduce your productivity accordingly. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next week. Uh-oh. I think we're rebooting. Controller settings. Here we go. If I could read, it's collection settings, not controller settings. Do we go? Yeah. Stage 2! Oh, we're all gonna die. I'll admit, don't really know what I'm doing here.